Good Thursday morning to you, everybody. I am Jake Rowe, and this is Kimberly Lee and her podcast debut. And this is the Field Notes podcast presented by Georgia Outdoor News, GON Outdoors. Man, we're excited. We got a great show. We got some news to share with you. A new look Georgia Outdoor News magazine. If you haven't gotten it yet, you're going to love it. You're going to go out and get it. I know you are. We're going to talk truck buck as we always do. And we got something special coming to GON with a special edition, limited edition GON knife. We're also going to check in with DGD Outdoors' very own Cade Brock, the founder, former Georgia football player, was a walk-on, won a couple of national titles with the Bulldogs. And we'll also kind of let you know what we got going for next week's show. But before we do any of that, I've talked long enough. You guys need to get to know our force of nature over at GON, Kimberly Lee. What's going on, girl?
Hey, Jake, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited and I've thoroughly enjoyed the Field Notes podcast over the last couple of weeks and I'm grateful to be a part. I grew up on GON, got on board on the team at GON, became the events coordinator, started running the events, putting things into play and getting to meet incredible people who are part of that GON community that I didn't quite fully understand when I was riding my John Deere metal tread tired tricycle with the GON sticker on it around as a kid. But now that I'm a part of the team, GON is something special for sure. It's much more than that sticker, and it starts with that magazine and ends with community. So I'm just really grateful to be a part.
And now we've got we added a little small leg to it that's growing every day. It's called a podcast. It's called a YouTube show, a Facebook show, Instagram. It's in all those places. And I'm really happy to be doing this show with you. I've gotten to know you over the past few months, and I know everybody's going to find you absolutely as entertaining as I do. And I hope they find our new look GON magazine as entertaining as I do, because I love this cover. I love what we've done. I love how we've touched the magazine. And if you pick it up, you'll feel a little difference. And Braylon and I, Braylon Smallwood and I did 2 shows and kind of previewed it a little bit. Kimberly, I got to get your thoughts. What do you think about this new Brentley Gilbert there on the front? Obviously a Georgian, Jackson County guy. Jefferson's where I live. What do you think about it?
First and foremost, shout out Hurricane Shoals right there in Maysville to the Jackson County residents.
That's right. That's right.
Super cool, obviously. I don't know that people realize what kind of legacy that Georgia has for hunting and the big hunters and the big people who hunt in the state of Georgia. So it's always fun and exciting to see someone with notoriety like that with a dead deer on the cover saying, hey, man, like I made this happen in Georgia. I think it makes all of us regular Georgians real pumped about what our great state has to offer. And as far as the magazine itself, I think people are going to enjoy seeing the same content that they've gotten to know and love and presented in just a little bit different way.
Yeah, I think so too. And like we said in the very first episode, we wanted to touch it, right? We wanted to touch it, add reader value. And I think as you thumb through it, for those of you that do read the magazine, as you thumb through it, you're going to see, that we did that. And, it's just going to get better. The new look is just going to get better as we continue to work with it and continue to go on. And the first episode, I likened it to a new house. And when you build a new house, and Jason Nesbitt says this in the magazine itself and in the new editorial, it's a beautiful home. It stood the test of time, but you update it as time goes on. The magazine last month looked different than it did 15 years before that, and it looked different 15 years before that. And this is our 500th, and it's incredible. And the hard work that went into this from Daryl Kirby, from Mike Rhodes, Scott Morrison, Braylon Smallwood, Drew Dimon, everybody that worked so hard on it, just a fantastic job. Jacqueline Reese, every day just grinding. And congratulations on an amazing magazine. And I know there's a lot more great ones to come. Let's move on to one of my favorite stories I've ever written. And, I cover Georgia football, and I've written over 15 years. I've written thousands of stories about football, and I've written some about, hunting and fishing here over the last couple months. This is one of the best ones I've ever seen, and I've not ever seen, sorry, but I've ever had a chance to experience. And this is, Mike Smith. Kimberly's a 63-year-old man who remembers back in the 1970s when I remember back in the early 1990s, I'd go all season long without shooting what people would call a shooter now. I wouldn't see a deer that would even come close to 120, 130 inches. And he remembers those days of going and hunting with his dad. He remembers the days when his dad would climb up into his deer stand, and his son would wrap his arms around his neck and he'd go. Recently, Mike harvested a 15-point buck. He lives in Paulding County, but he hunts in Newton County. And I'm going to try to say this without getting choked up, because I got choked up talking to Mike on the phone. His dad, Bill Pappy Smith, is what he called him, Pappy, was a Vietnam veteran. And he returned home from Vietnam to become a successful businessman in the concrete erection industry, taught Mike how to work hard, taught Mike how to hunt. And this was the first deer and Bill submitted this to the truck buck, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Mike did, sorry. And he dedicated it to his dad, and that's his dad right there. And to me, Kimberly, the reason this kind of gets me choked up is I'm very close with my dad, and I know you are too. But two, there are stories like this that we can't even get to out there. There's just so many of them, because that's how special this is to the people that read and consume GON and enjoy our outdoors.
Yeah. It's no shock. You've worked with me long enough that I'll cry at the drop of a pen. So just listening to, I think, whether it's your dad or whoever built that first connection to you, to something beautiful that gets you involved in the Georgia outdoors, when you have that success moment, when you have that triumph moment, it's hard to not get emotional thinking about whoever led you to that connection. You kind of asked me what resonated, how did I connect with this story? And like you mentioned, my dad, just growing up with him, hunting and fishing, and hearing hold on to the neck as he climbs the stand. Mine was a little bit different. It might have been hold on to a neck while my dad swam across a trout hole, but definitely, you get emotional thinking about, really for me, how limited time is. We get these opportunities to go and do these things. So hearing stories like this encourages me to continue to do it and continue to honor those who taught me, to be an outdoors person, to enjoy nature, because time is limited. I don't know when my last experience will be, but stories like this remind me to thank those who taught me and to make the most of all of them.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite parts about this hunt story is Mike wasn't even hunting this 15-point. He had only seen him like twice in 7 or 8 months on his trail camera. He actually had his eye on a 10-point that had kind of disappeared. We talked about it last episode. It's a hard mass season, and Mike was like, this deer's on the acorns. This deer's eating, acorns everywhere else. He's not worried about it, right here. He wasn't coming to Mike's feed or anything like that. The 10-point started doing the same thing. And then next thing you know, he's out there hunting. Says he basically saw a petting zoo of deer, like 3 or 4 bucks and 3 or 4 does, and they're just kind of prancing around. Took him forever to get into his stand that day. Another buck was kind of snort wheezing and busting him. Had everybody kind of had him thinking like, hey, I'm not going to get in here without getting spotted. And by the way, that is the actual deer that Mike killed. That's the 15-point there. And listen, Mike was the first to acknowledge, probably not going to win the truck buck, probably not going to win the week, probably not the most impressive buck out there. But to him, it was very special because A, it was a mature deer, and B, he was able to dedicate it to his father. And listen, I'm one of these people, and there are a lot of us out there, so I'm not trying to say I'm unique, but when I hear somebody served in Vietnam, when I hear somebody served in World War II, when I hear, and there's fewer and fewer people, alive these days that experience that, I've got a lot of respect for it. I've got a lot of respect for our veterans and the people who come home and build strong families and teach their families how to do things and how to provide. it was wonderful getting a chance to talk to Mike about his father, who I'm 42 years old. His dad passed away last year at the age of 85. Wish I'd gotten a chance to know Bill Pappy Smith, because his son was sure proud of him, and that was what was fun to me about hearing this story and learning about kind of this buck and what it took to take him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we forget sometimes that obviously a 15-point buck, mature buck, is impressive feat, right? That's a big deal. But I think sometimes we forget that it's about the hunt, and it's the memories, and it's the lessons learned throughout the entire process. It's not just the photo at the end. It's everything that led up to that photo, right? And I think we just got to remember, let's cherish the chase.
No doubt about it. That I couldn't have said it any better. That's perfect. That's exactly the message that kind of came off to me, during that story. And congrats to Mike, and congrats to a lot of people, because we're going to get into some truck buck stuff here in just a little bit. But before we do, there's a limited edition GON knife out there. And Kimberly, this thing's pretty cool. We've already gotten, like the day we posted it on the website, we started getting phone calls about it. And this isn't like this isn't the kind of knife you go and buy at Harbor Freight, or it's not the kind of knife you go buy in a hardware store. This is a special handmade, a really nice quality knife with a sheath. And can you tell us anything about it?
Yeah, for sure. So this is something we've been talking about doing since I came on board at GON. And as we just discussed, November was our 500th issue, and we wanted to do something to celebrate the community. And so this knife was brought back up, and quickly and on a dime, Braylon drove out to Goat and Hammer, based out of Douglasville, Georgia. The owner there, Mark Hopper, who is a blacksmith, worked on this knife along with Braylon and Andy's vision. And they really wanted to create something together that was not only a knife that you could carry, but it would withstand the life of an outdoorsman. It could be the knife that you took to fillet when you were fishing, or to field dress a deer, but also a knife that represented heritage and legacy of GON. So Braylon has worked really hard with Mark over at Goat and Hammer on making this knife a reality. And you can read more about it on pages 90 and 91 in the November issue. You can also see her article online at gon.com. But the knife is available for purchase now. You can go to gon.com and then click the GON gear or Gone Gear tab at the top, and that'll take you straight to our Shopify store. And from there, you'll see the link to purchase the limited edition GON knife that we wanted to make available to the GON community, to be something that you talked about around the campfire, something that you brought out around the campfire, something that you brought out during the deer woods, something that you could pass on generation to generation. Yeah,
and to me, the first thing I thought of, because this is what Jake Rowe does, is I thought about, hey, this is the kind of knife I would be just absolutely sick over losing, because that's probably what I would do, what I will do when I get one. And I really can't wait to get my hands on it, because it's also one of those bad boys that you start working with it, you start trying to get it sharp, and you're going to get about as sharp as you want to get it. You'll start shaving the hair on your arms and things like that, showing it off, trying to show people what you can do. You're going to take part of your mustache off with it just so you can show people how sharp your new knife is. It's a high quality knife, and everybody, a lot of hard work went into that too. There's no doubt about it. Just like a lot of hard work went into another fantastic week of truck buck.
That's right.
Listen, before I don't want to talk too much right here. I just want to show these bucks, and they are very, very impressive. Braylon, I'm sorry, Kimberly. I've done 2 shows with Braylon. I already misspoke on your name. We got Brinson Coggins here out of Lowndes County. South Georgia deer, can't get more south than Lowndes County. He grunted this bad boy up, brought him out, and that's an amazing deer for South Georgia, for deep South Georgia like that. Another kid here, Hunter Albritton out of Schley County. You know where Schley County is, Kimberly?
You know that I'm a ridge runner. I don't know anything south of Athens. If it's below Athens, it's South Georgia to me. I'm guessing that's South Georgia.
Yes, it is. And I will say that for the longest time, I couldn't have found it for anything in my life. And then, over the years, I've kind of figured out where it is, and learned more about it. But the big thing for me with this one is you got a young kid that shot a 10-point deer, and it barely moved. An ethical kill. I love hearing that. I love it whenever, you see these kids doing it the right way. We had a story earlier this year at GON where Jack Bruner, a little 7-year-old kid, I think we even highlighted him on the podcast, with a crossbow, just ethical harvests. That gets me going, man. I love that. That was a big emphasis for my dad whenever he taught me to hunt. We got Ford Norris here out of Dooley County. Nice little Dooley County buck here. Great area of the state to hunt. The cool thing about this one, though, his dad and his brother killed a deer in the same day. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe so. The brother got an 8-point on the same day. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And I think his dad killed a 10-point on the same day. Yep. So all the Norris dudes harvested, very mature, impressive bucks all on the same day, which is pretty outstanding. I mean, what a day. I didn't have very many days like that. And when I say I didn't have very many, there's zero. There were 0 days that me, my brother, and my dad all harvested a really good deer. And then Macon County is absolutely on fire. Tristan Plank with this gorgeous kill. Bo Buck, this at this point in the season, he's still at it. As the weather cools down, he's still out there with his Bo Buck ethical kill for Tristan Plank, a 13-point out of Macon County. And then we're staying in Macon County for this monster from Jimmy Fields. Never seen a buck like this, period, while hunting, much less getting a shot at one, much less taking him. That is a monster.
Cow, for sure.
We would call that, my dad would call that the old man. That's what we used to call kind of the dominant buck of the group. We call him the old man. And then this last one, I really want to spend just a minute on. Shelby Hartley out of Wheeler County. And there's a reason I want to spend a second on this one. This is a different buck, all right, because this is a buck that was special for the entire family. They grew this buck. They let him walk for 6 straight years to watch him grow and to watch him get to this point. And I'm about to pull up some more pictures of him to show you kind of that this buck is that picture is a good one, but this buck is extremely, extremely impressive. I mean, you can see it from right there. I drive through Wheeler County all the time going down to Pearson, Georgia, and to see my family. And I'm telling you, man, that they don't get much better than that. Not in my opinion. Not in this state or really any other. And the story behind it, just watching a deer grow for 6 years and having the discipline to kind of let it walk and everybody being on the same page. GON community, man, that's what they do.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. All right, folks. Well, another piece of the GON community is our friend Cade Brock over at DGD Outdoors. He founded it, former Georgia football player. We're going to link up with him for just a little bit. It's a little bit of a shorter interview than our past couple have been. We had some technical difficulties in there too, I'm not going to lie. But it's a lot of fun, and I think he's going to shed some light on getting student athletes out to hunt, getting them outdoors and to fish and to all other things too. Let's hear from our friend Cade Brock. All right, Kimberly, we have got our friend Cade Brock, founder of DGD Outdoors and plenty of other stuff going on. He's a busy, busy man, and he's joining us here on the Field Notes podcast. Cade, man, it's wonderful to connect with you, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're running and gunning and everything else to come on and talk to us, buddy.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me. I apologize for being in my truck, but like you said, I'm back and forth. I'm glad I could hop on here. I've always loved GON, so I'm excited to talk to you guys today.
No doubt about it. So I don't know how we could start anywhere else. 2-time national champion with the Georgia Bulldogs. Obviously, not everybody who listens to this is going to be a Georgia fan, but not everybody in this space is a 2-time national champion either. What was that experience like for you?
Man, it was pretty incredible. I mean, I grew up a diehard Georgia fan. often remind people it wasn't that long ago when we were pretty consistently 8-5, or, it was always seemed like if we could just beat Florida, we'd be okay. But yeah, I grew up a diehard Georgia fan. So just getting to come to Georgia itself was a dream come true. And then, obviously on top of that, being pretty dang good was just a cherry on top. So those two national championships, I mean, it's hard to really put into words. It was a great experience. I mean, about like you could imagine, though. It was kind of surreal. I just kind of keep pinching myself, making sure that it was real. The parade was amazing. It was, I think the biggest thing that I guess kind of caught my eyes, which I knew it was a really big deal if we could pull it off, but just the support and like how far and wide and just how incredible the Georgia fan base is, and just how far that goes. I mean, and then translating that into hunting, like it goes from all corners of the state. It seems like it's not just here in Athens that it was a really big deal for everybody, but just across the whole state. I think it was a really big deal that we got it done, and it had been 40 years. So I was just extremely grateful to be a part of it and just get to witness it. So it was a lot of fun. I definitely wouldn't trade it for anything, but it was definitely a lot of work too. So it was definitely a unique experience.
That's awesome, Cade. I think you went ahead and kind of like mentioned what I wanted to ask you. You talked about kind of that community stretching from corner to corner and relating that a little bit back to your hunting community and stuff. So obviously winning a football national championship, not once but twice, is a little bit different than any hunting or fishing experience you had. But I want you to think about maybe like your most exhilarating hunting or fishing experience. How does that compare to winning a national football title?
Yeah, the experience compared to hunting and fishing, I think it's pretty funny you asked that, actually, because I always ask that to guys that are going to kill their first deer or their first turkey or something. Like, how's it compare to scoring a touchdown in front of like 100,000 people? And they all kind of have the same similar, I guess, response I would have to that question is like it's eerily similar. Like, um, how, like, if you're going hunting before that big buck steps out, or right before that turkey pokes his head up, everything just kind of turns into white noise, and your heart starts beating a little bit faster. So I think it's similar in that aspect. I think the obviously the biggest difference is most of the time you're alone, right? When you're in the woods, so there's not 100,000 people there to celebrate with you. But I think the pressure aspect is very similar. The excitement for me, which I think might have been one of my problems, is I've always gotten a little bit more excited about killing a big deer or killing a turkey than I have winning a football game. That's may just be to me, though. I think a lot of the guys, like, I think you'll see in this next video of Nate Frazier, he kills his first deer. His reaction is very similar to what his reaction is on TV when he scores a touchdown. So that'll be exciting to see. But yeah, it is similar. Um, it's hard to really compare anything to when, like, the actual moment of when we won those two championships. But it is very similar in that aspect, as far as everything kind of goes white noise and your heart starts beating real fast. So
That's awesome. I feel like you're getting excited just describing it to me and talking about it. That's super cool. So obviously we know where your connection to UGA football and UGA comes from. Can you talk to me about DGD Outdoors? Where did the idea come from, and where are you now with it?
So originally the idea actually started when I was probably a freshman or maybe a sophomore. My good buddies, Dan Jackson, the late great Georgia legend, and then obviously the chosen one, Gunner Stockton. Them two, they helped me start it, and we kind of just, the idea. We all three of us really love to hunt. I'd say I probably like to hunt a little more than play football, which those guys obviously like to play football a little more than they like to hunt. But the idea just kind of started from kind of selfishly, just us three trying to find places to hunt and fish. I don't know if we really had a name for it necessarily, but then, you know, after going on a few good hunts and taking a teammate here and there, and then going back to the locker room and kind of getting to share all that excitement with the guys, I think it is kind of just inevitable that it was going to happen, because just as close as that locker room was, they were going to be wanting to do what we were wanting to do, and we were going to be wanting to do what they were wanting to do outside of football either way. So I think it was just, it kind of just happened naturally. The idea, I would say, was just trying to get in the woods more, and then like I said, it kind of just naturally happened itself with these guys, especially the kind of characters we had in that locker room. You could video them doing anything and it would be comedy. So getting them in the woods and videoing that and capturing their first experience, I felt like we just kind of had to do it, just based off some of the guys we were taking. I felt like not videoing it wouldn't be doing it justice, because we had some real characters. So I would say just, it kind of just stemmed from all three of our love for the outdoors and hunting and fishing, and trying to find more places to do that, and then just share that with our teammates. I think that's really the root of it. And then obviously, it's definitely caught steam, and I don't know how much of it really has to do with me, but I think it's more the part that all these guys, and like I said earlier, the fan base that Georgia has is so expansive that it kind of caught some good steam, and we've been lucky enough to get really lucky and make some good videos. And right now, where we're at with it is we're still wide open. Like I said, we just took Nate this past weekend. I'll have another guy going Sunday. I'm not sure who yet, but there's always somebody wanting to go as soon as we get a break. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely been more than what I thought it was going to be when we started, but I'm loving it. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see how much more we can grow it.
Looking at it, going back to that moment when you guys were first thinking it up, do you remember that? Do you remember that moment, and when you guys finally just said, like, let's do something with this, let's make this something?
Kind of just reflecting back to that point, I would say it was, I think, like anybody, like I think you see a lot with these on YouTube, and any young kid from Georgia that really enjoys hunting or fishing, I feel like it's kind of second nature to want to get it on video or get footage of it. Although I've kind of learned that doesn't really help the storytelling and lying aspect of it when everything's videoed. So it makes it a little harder to tell tall tales and make the story sound a little better. But no, I think it really just stemmed from us wanting to video ourselves, and then taking a few of the guys and being like, holy crap, if we could capture that on video, people would eat that up because it's so funny. As far as like coming up with a name and something for it, I think just DGD was just always something that was around the facility and around the locker room, and I'm sure I'm not telling you guys anything, but for Georgia fans, it's kind of one of the most famous sayings. So we made sure it wasn't trademarked, and just started on our little voyage of trying to just video ourselves hunting and fishing. And like I kind of said earlier, it definitely grew unexpectedly and turned into a bigger deal than what I think any of us thought it was going to be when we first started.
So if you had to put your finger on one or two things, what's special to you about the Georgia Outdoors? Well, what makes Georgia unique? I know you hunt out of state and you do these things. Every hunter and fisherman wants to do that and see the world and see the states. But what about this Georgia Outdoors is special to you, being from Rome and having traveled all over the state?
That's a good question. What makes Georgia special to me? I think that hunting in the South in general, especially in Georgia, presents its own set of challenges, just because like when we go out of state and hunt and we do some door knocking and we try to get permission, it seems like it's not, people are a little more easy to maybe grant permission, or maybe they don't hunt their ground or something like that. But I feel like in Georgia, most people and most property owners hunt. The outdoors is a really big thing here. So I think just pressure-wise from people, that's one aspect that adds the challenges. But I think that's also one of the greatest things about the hunting community in Georgia is very often I'm always talking to people that have either hunted similar spots or just like to hunt in Georgia too, and kind of getting to share some of those stories, I think, is a unique aspect about Georgia, because just about any any guy you see in camo, or really any dude you see around, especially this Athens area, there's a good chance that they like to hunt or enjoy hunting. So I think that's something special about Georgia. As far as terrain, I think Georgia has a kind of a more special situation when it comes to terrain, because you can go up into northeast Georgia, and then you can go into, southwest Georgia, and those are two total different landscapes. The deer are different, the turkeys act different. I think that's a pretty cool part about it. I've been and I've hunted a lot of different places, and I always tell people I think that my favorite place to kill an animal or to go hunting for an animal is probably a hardwood drain somewhere in Georgia, just because beauty-wise it's hard to beat, and then I have yet to find anything that beats a hard gobbling turkey in some bottom somewhere in Georgia. So I think Georgia has a lot of different things that make it special. To me, those are some of the things that I think are special. Again, I just think the hunting community in Georgia is a little different than others. It's a little more special than in some places, if that makes sense. Did I answer that good enough?
No, that's it. That's a big one. I think is one of the reasons Georgia Outdoor News is what it is.
Yeah, of course. I think that I'm probably not telling you guys anything. Y'all probably see it firsthand. Just the community aspect of hunting. You're always going to have some bad apples, but I think that Georgia does a good job celebrating Georgia's success. I think you guys do a great job of that as well, and kind of highlighting that. And I don't know. I mean, maybe to some people it's not as apparent, but I mean, there's some great hunting in Georgia. There's some absolute. I mean, South Georgia. I mean, y'all been. Some of the stuff y'all shared, like some of the deer that's coming out of Meriwether County and some of those other southern counties. I mean, I do a lot of driving to hunt deer that are that caliber out of state. So it's I think Georgia overall it has a lot to offer. The turkey hunting is in certain parts. I know it can definitely be tough, and I know a lot of people had a tough season this year. But in some parts of Georgia, it just seems like our population is doing pretty well compared to others. But yeah, just the community aspect, I think, is pretty special in Georgia.
Yeah, I think we would agree with you. I think kind of the synonymous answer we always get from everybody about Georgia Outdoors is the variety that Georgia has to offer,
yeah,
and then the community for sure. But look, you talked about all the things that make Georgia special. I know you got to check some bucket list items off this past year. You turkey hunted in Hawaii. You took Lindsay your fiance, to kill her first deer. So with all that being said, if you could take anybody, anytime to hunt or fish, who would it be and what would you do?
Me and Lad have been working on an elk hunt. So I'd really like to see that come to fruition. We may have to rely on Lad's pocketbook for that one, though. But
that's second round money.
Yeah, we're working on it. I think killing Lad's first turkey in Chatsworth is really cool. He's one of my closest friends. I mean, just an elk hunt would be pretty special. I got to go to Colorado and do that unsuccessfully by myself. It was definitely gave me some respect for those guys especially somebody who can kill an elk every year on public land. I mean, that's really doing something. I think that would be kind of my next challenge personally that I would like to tackle, is being able to do that. But if I could take anybody anywhere right now at this point, I'd probably take one of my nephews back to Hawaii and let them kill a turkey there, just because that was pretty remarkable, just getting to hunt there. And then obviously my nephew's got a lot of catching up to do, so I can't wait to. He actually killed his first deer the other day, and with his dad, so I'm excited. That's probably one of the things I'm looking forward to most is, that elk hunt with Lad, and then taking my nephews to kind of just experience some of this stuff like we were talking about.
Well, brother, we appreciate it so much, and you have been so kind as to fit us into your tight schedule. And
I appreciate y'all, and I apologize for all the technical difficulties. Might need to update the old F-250 to get it to a better podcast studio parameters.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're not done here. I mean, we talk to you pretty regularly, and we'll get back in touch and get into more of a studio environment at some point and lock in with you. But man, go take care of what you got to take care of, and get out in the woods, have a good time. We want everybody to do that, and we'll check in with you next time. All right.
I appreciate you guys. Thank y'all for helping me and everything y'all do for the outdoors in Georgia. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cade.
All right, Kimberly, that was, listen, your podcast debut, your live show debut, and we got a man sitting in the cab of his truck to talk to us about hunting, to talk to us about fishing. It doesn't get much better than that.
I wouldn't expect anything different. I mean, the authenticity is authentic. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the funny thing about that interview to me is that, you have folks out there that just cannot imagine, on both sides, they can't imagine that catching a big fish or killing a big deer or killing a turkey would be as great as winning a football game. But then you've also got people out there that can't imagine that winning a football game would ever be as big as killing a deer or killing a turkey or catching a big fish. And that's what's great about our world is it does kind of bleed those communities together. And when you're talking about enjoyment, hobbies, pastimes, that's where it all kind of comes together.
Absolutely. And I think what Cade's doing, introducing people who've never been exposed to the outdoors, right? Whether he's taking them hunting or fishing. I think that's what us more experienced outdoorsmen, those of us who kind of grew up in the woods and on the water, that's what we've got to continue to do, is just share with people what we love and teach them the right way to enjoy it and to respect it. And we'll only see that community continue to grow, and as a result, be even better stewards of our great state of Georgia.
Yeah, no doubt. And, the passion that is involved in everything. One of the things that I've learned in the past couple of months, spending as much time as I have around and with GON and the people of GON, going out to the Ag Pro GON Outdoor Blast that we have every July up at Lake Point there in Emerson. You get around people that are just extremely passionate about what they do, to the point that it's not an obsession. I mean, it is for some, but it's not an obsession. It's something that becomes part of the whole family dynamic, right, which is a lot of fun, which is a lot, like the kids get involved with it, and they learn a skill while also enjoying themselves. And there's just, I don't know, is there anything else you could really kind of identify? Like, yeah, you can love sports. I love sports. And I'm not speaking ill on anybody who does. Would never do that. But is there anything else where you can actually learn to do something that can literally help you survive while also really enjoying yourself and connect with your family? I don't know that there's many things out there that compare.
No, actually, upon coming to GON and meeting Cade for the first time, we had that discussion, and there's a blog or a entry on my blog on the website where I talked about, what do I do with my hands? Because I grew up on the ball field, and that was where most of my life lessons were learned. But those aren't my fondest memories. They are part of who I am. But when I really think about the moments that make up my character and the moments that I want to continue to share with someone else, that I want to share with my husband, that I want to share with, my brother, my nieces, my future children, it's the moments where my dad was dragging me through the woods. It was the moment where he was leaving me in a stand for the first time by myself. It was, a moment when he was putting me on a trout hole and going 50 yards downstream. Those moments really kind of make up way more of my character than my times as an athlete did. And I think that there's just something about, like what you said, like the dynamic, it becomes a part of your DNA. It feeds your soul. It doesn't just feed that innate desire to compete or that innate desire to succeed. Like, to me, going hunting, going fishing, spending time in the outdoors is rest for my heart. It's rest for my mind. And because of that, it's become such an important dynamic and part of my family DNA. So no, I don't know that there's anything else out there that teaches us what it teaches us.
Well, folks, I think that's pretty much all we have for this episode. A little shorter than our past two, but like I said, our interview was a little bit shorter too. And listen, we've got another show queued up for you coming next week. We're going to talk with another former Georgia football player, Ryan Rankin of Boars and Broads. Who is his partner, Carter? What's Carter's last name?
Carter Schulz.
Okay. And listen, these guys are big into hog hunting. They're big into hog hunting with dogs. They've got, you would not believe the appeal that they have to the masses in terms of their social media following. You would not believe the things that they've gotten a chance to go out and do. And you know, they've gotten to do it, you know, abroad. They've gotten to do it overseas. They're not just hanging out in one spot in Georgia. They're moving all over the country to hunt hogs and to get outdoors and do the things that we all are trying to do more of, which is enjoy God's creation. And we're encouraging you to do that always at GON and GON Outdoors. Come check us out. Come check out the new magazine. Come check out the Truck Buck submissions. And in the meantime, we'll be putting together another great show for you. Take care.